Ready?
Are you?
I was born ready.
Yeah!
We are back.
Welcome to the Jenna and Julien podcast.
Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Such a nice thing to say. Welcome. Oh, okay. well, now.
Welcome.
All right, let's.
This podcast is brought to you by the Jenna and Julien podcast.
By Squarespace.
It's brought to you by Squarespace. Check out squarespace.com for your website needs. They have some of the cleanest, best looking, most professional looking, easy to use templates and service to make your own website. Go to squarespace.com and enter product code JJ at checkout for 10% off your website.
To make yourself a cool website. And thank you, Squarespace, for supporting us. And thank you for these awesome t-shirts they sent us.
Thank you for the medium. Fits great.
No, I was like, you should wear this medium because it like makes your muscles look really big.
All right.
It makes your shirt look like it can't like even handle your body.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, okay.
You know
I'll take
what I
that.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a look.
It's a look. Anyway, thanks for the shirts.
Thank
you for sponsoring the podcast. So this week we have a podcast that I think you guys will enjoy.
Yeah, it's one of the most requested podcasts that we get, which is shocking to me because it was one of my favorite ones to do because it's all I do in my free time anyways.
Yeah.
And conspiracy theories is what we're talking about.
Conspiracy theories.
Because you guys know that I go so far down the rabbit hole on the internet all the time, and I love it. We did do a celebrity conspiracy theory.
Yeah, so we did one conspiracy theories podcast, which was pretty serious. We both gathered some really interesting conspiracy theories and did that podcast. And we did a part 2, but it was more of like humorous conspiracy theories, funny, celebrity, stuff like that. So this I would consider part 2, but it's technically part 3.
Yeah, I guess.
So this is the second series.
Part 1 billion for my brain.
Yeah, Jenna sits around long before we even did the podcast and looks up conspiracy theories all over the place. And she definitely preps for this podcast harder than any other podcast. So.
Oh, well, now you're going to put way too much pressure on me. I was just falling down black holes. That's all. Like, I take a long time because you get distracted by 50 other conspiracy theories that you got to know about. So then you can, give the best ones.
Exactly. You want to make sure you have the best ones for the podcast.
Yeah, but I'm also just, procrastinating because I want to read about things.
Selfish.
Me, I'm selfish. Guys, if this podcast is late, it's because of me. And my selfish desire for knowledge of what other people are thinking.
Yeah. Anyway, would you like to start with your first conspiracy theory?
Do you want me to?
I would like you to because I'm very curious to see how badly you beat me with cool conspiracies.
So the first one is like what we've been talking about for the past few days or whatever, and the internet's been crazy for a little while. I don't know exactly because I wasn't looking at dates because I'm busy reading and getting my mind blown. I'm not 100% sure when this actually came out, but the Berenstain Bears conspiracy theory, like my mind exploded. I can't explode dead when I read it. Because most of us, I think it started off as one person. Okay. One person really liked the Berenstain Bears. I believe it's this conspiracy blog that I've been on, although I don't know who to credit. Stranger Dimensions is the name of the blog or website. I don't know. Maybe he uses Squarespace. But anyways, it's really well done because it's I think just a person or maybe two. I don't know, but whatever. I believe that he had gone back and looked at his Berenstain Bears books because he really enjoyed Berenstain Bears and distinctly remembers them being spelled with an E at the end, like Berenstain, S-T-E-I-N instead of S-T-A-I-N. So he went back and looked at his books, realized that they said Berenstain Bears.
Okay.
And so he instantly Googled it, starts looking all over the place, and on Wikipedia, on everything, on the entire internet, it just says Berenstain Bears everywhere. So it sort of took off on the internet. Okay. People being I completely remember it being the Berenstain Bears. That's why everybody says Berenstain Bears, not Berenstain Bears. And it's just completely, it's not a thing. It doesn't exist. It's been Berenstain Bears. It always has been. So there's a couple of theories as to why this is. Okay. That's peculiar. Was it before you were born?
It's
you
a
ever
little
read
before
those
my time.
books?
No, I've heard of the books, though. I don't think I ever read them as a kid, but
Right. Okay.
no, that sounds weird.
Right? Like everyone just collectively all being like, what the fuck? So there's a couple of theories.
Okay, what are they?
One of the theories is, well, we can't, nobody knows for sure. It's just fucking weird. One of the theories is that we were in like an E dimension in theory. And then sometime between, 1997 and 2001 or some shit, we switched into an A dimension. Like we basically traveled into collectively a parallel universe. Something changed whatever path we were on.
Okay.
And the only thing that still exists of them being the Berenstein Bears is the fact that we all distinctly remember that it being spelled with an E.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Does your mind hurt? Because mine is... Well, I love those books so much.
E dimension obviously stands for E in Berenstein and A in Berenstein.
Well, yeah, we're just using it as a way to describe the dimension.
So we shifted dimensions, and the only proof of it being ever E is the way we remember it.
Correct.
Okay.
Collectively.
Okay.
Because it's not like it's like 6 people remember it this way.
And also the way it's pronounced and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And then... Like, I didn't go so far down the rabbit hole as to, like, how much people have looked into it, but, like, people have taken pictures of their old books. That's why you heard me call my mom earlier today.
Yeah, you
and
did,
I was like, Mom, if you have any of the old Berenstein Bear books, can you take them out and take a picture of them? Because I'm almost positive that they're going to have an A on them because everybody else has already tried that, and they all have A's. And it just, like, it's mind-fucking me so hard.
Yeah.
But I don't know how far people have gone down the rabbit hole as to like if they've been able to find anything about it. So that's where I stopped because I had to call my mom basically.
I was there. That was funny. So what are the other theories?
The other theory is that there's time travelers, basically, and, the butterfly effect. So you go and you sneeze on somebody by accident because you're trying not to touch anything and change the course of history.
Yeah.
And you give a million people a disease that they weren't equipped to have because you traveled backwards. Or like that someone had traveled backwards in time and change one little thing, and what we remember as Berenstein Bears is actually now it's Berenstain Bears.
So the A is a ripple effect of someone going back in time doing something completely different.
Yeah,
so they didn't go back in time to change the word.
Right, but
that was just an effect of...
Right, but it would explain why we all grew up within a certain time frame, all remember it being spelled a certain way. Yeah. And then sometime between like a short period of time where maybe none of us were really paying attention, someone changed it, so now all of the books are that. And we can't find a book that has an E in it.
Because every single book ever made was changed by that time traveler.
In theory.
Okay. Got it. No, I'm just trying to.
Well, you have to. Yeah, it's difficult to wrap your head around because you have to see time as non-linear. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you have to see time as like this, whatever fucking. It's not a forward moving. Not now is the present. Now is the present. Now is the present. It's like an ever fucking looping whatever dick.
Yeah.
Or you either believe in that, or you believe in parallel dimensions, or you're just like, you guys are all fucking idiots.
Okay, fair enough.
Dimensions, or you're just like, you guys are all fucking idiots.
Okay, fair enough.
What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I think it's interesting because it could just, here's the devil's advocate side of me is saying it could just be one of those things that the book was made popular by someone who pronounced it Berenstein, even though it was spelled Berenstain.
Wait, okay.
But hold on.
I'm already ready. I'm ready. Go ahead.
So, say the book was made popular, however it was made popular, and the people or group of people or one person who had a handle on getting the book into the mainstream for a lot of people to read pronounced it Berenstein Bears. So, hearing that, everyone bought the book not thinking to check that it was actually spelled with an E. It could have just been spelled with an A, but they had taken someone's word or heard it.
Can I rebut? Yeah. So my rebuttal to that is that the reason why I think a lot of people my age or like parents that were that age that the book was popular, we use that book to learn how to read, which is why we all remember the way that it was spelled. Like that's like, on the same level as like some fucking third grade shit. Like you open up a Berenstein Bear book because you can can read
Can
and
you
you're
buy the book
excited
right now?
to
Are
read.
they all on
They're
for sale?
all A.
They're all A.
They're all A.
Hmm.
On Wikipedia, it's always existed with an A. But I think so many of us are having a hard time with that because when you first learn how to read, you remember how things are spelled
Yeah. No,
and how to pronounce things. So I think you would be right that maybe we're all just idiots because, we heard people saying Steen, so we saw Steen or we didn't see Stain.
Yeah.
But we learned how to read by reading Berenstain Bears. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what the actual fuck?
It's very weird.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those things
where...
where...
a TV show, I thought? Fuck all that shit.
Well, it's like in... I don't know, it's like in a movie where something very, very important, but also more of like a Easter egg type thing happens early on in the movie, and you get to the later parts of the movie, and then they allude to that, like, you should have been paying attention to this, which is one of those things, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm sure that didn't happen, but you have to rewatch the movie to see that it did happen, but this is time, so you can't rewatch it. You know what I'm saying?
No way. I think that the amount of people that are adamant about it being spelled with an E.
No, wait, there's nothing to disagree with. There's nothing to disagree with here.
I know.
So why are you saying no?
No, I'm saying I know that it was spelled with an E. I don't have to go back and watch my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying the frustration of not being able to go back and check like you would in a movie, but it's the same type of situation where
because we're all trying
experience
to
with one thing and you're so
that we can't itch.
Yeah, well, you're so sure it was one way, and then in a movie you can go back and check and then be like, yeah, it was, or your mind's blown, it wasn't, but now we can't go back and check. And it's weird to me that all the copies are A now. Like, you'd think that's the weirdest fucking part, where people looking at their home copies, dusting off their copies of Berenstain Bears, and it has spelled with an A when you're so sure that exact copy, it's not a picture of the book online, it's a real thing.
Right.
That's the scariest part for me.
Well, that's why the theory is ridiculous, and that we switched to parallel universes, or that there's a time traveler. Because I'm sure if you dug up a picture of a kid holding a Berenstain book when you were a kid, it would have an A on it.
Okay, there's got to be like an explanation for this.
None. That's why it's a really great conspiracy theory.
And it just recently came out.
Yeah.
What?
Well,
Berenstain Bears?
I think.
Who wrote the book?
Yeah, but that's why I said earlier I haven't gone so far down the rabbit hole to see if someone had contacted the author and what the deal was.
Yeah, you did say that.
Because I didn't read that far. If you do, please let me know because I'm dying.
Well, now I need to hear how this ends.
From what I've read, it seems like people have exhausted their options and that their answer is A.
There's no other answer.
There's no other answer, even though the only thing that we all remember is an E, but that's all the proof that we have, is that we all remember it's being spelled with an E.
Wow.
Right?
Is it possible that the book was made to teach kids how to spell, so they threw a misspelling on the cover just to be like, hey, this is not how you spell, and then in the book it's the real spelling lesson?
No way. Nope.
Okay, and what the fuck is happening here? Because did someone just sneak back in time and then change the name of that book and then come back and
Yeah, people are saying John Titan or whatever his name is. Triton.
I love that guy.
John Titan, Triton.
I love his diary, man.
Right, I went down. That was the reason why one of the reasons why it took me so long to prep for this podcast, because I went down his rabbit hole, and someone had actually hired a private investigator. If you don't know who we're talking about, this guy had contacted Coast to Coast AM or FM or the radio station that does that kind of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about, Julien?
No.
Yeah, but remember he had that post on Reddit and stuff where he was answering questions.
Yeah.
People, because he's a time traveler and he's gone back into.
No, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I was reminding anyone who was listening.
Yeah, we referenced that the first time. Yeah.
I brought him up for some reason. People are saying, so, maybe he went back in time and fucked with shit. But that's an example of a person who now is a time traveler. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Good thought train, Jenna. Thank you. I went down his rabbit hole, and someone had hired a private investigator to look into that guy. And they used, the IP addresses that he was using for the computer. And found out that it could be a person. I think I screenshotted his name, but I wasn't going to talk about it because I thought we had already talked about him in the last one, but I was too excited about it, so then I took a screenshot.
Could be a person.
that he could be a person by a name of like John Habneck or something like that, and that his brother actually had set up a foundation of sorts so that they could get money, and they had copywritten copyrights for his name, or like if he wanted to write a book or make money or something that way, so that he really is a real person, that he fabricated the whole thing, so
he
that
covered his bases.
Yeah, but like they tracked his IP address and their address, and they were like, all right, you're not a fucking time traveler. You're just this fucking guy who made up this very elaborate story to try and make some money, bro.
Damn.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that disappointing?
Yeah, but I mean...
not surprising, but disappointing. I wanted to believe.
Well, think about it this way, Jenna. If you're a time traveler, okay, you have the ability to travel time. Whether it's something you've created, it's a physical invention, a time-traveling machine, or you found a way to jump back into time. You wouldn't tell anyone. Of course you wouldn't, right?
I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, think about it. Because you've discovered this way to go back in time, and you've learned the ins and outs of what to do and how to do it right and not to fuck shit up. Like, the last thing you're going to do is tell someone.
Wait, but like... hold on, before we move forward, say you have a time machine. How do you know the ins and outs of things and how not to fuck up? Because I feel like I would fuck everything up.
Erroneous.
Nobody would teach you how to not fuck up.
That's so besides the point. I think that's a valid question. But what I'm saying is, like, let's just skip to the point of you having understood time travel.
Okay.
Like, you have gotten to the point, whether there's been trial and error, people have died, whatever. You've learned how to travel time. That means... In my opinion, that there could be people right now who know how to travel time and do it as they please. And one of the trips was taken by one of the amateurs in the club, and he fucked one little flower up, and now it's Berenstain Bears. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, there.
Yeah, no, that's a theory.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like.
I was saying I wanted to believe.
But the guy, I'm just trying to refute the guy who's like, I'm a time traveler, ask me anything. No, you wouldn't do that if you were a time traveler. You're risking everything.
I feel like I would. I'd be a dick.
You're risking your whole ability.
See, I would go like into like, I don't know, the Renaissance, and I would walk up with a boombox, and I would just start breakdancing and blow everybody's fucking shit.
I'm talking about present day.
Okay,
like,
then I would...
The year that you learned how to time travel, 2015, 2020, whatever year it was that you learned how to time travel, you're not going to go to that period and go onto Reddit and do an AMA and say, ask me anything about time travel. Like, that's clearly projecting being a fake. If you're a real time traveler, you're not going to tell everyone or anyone. You're going to tell your club mates of the time travel club who knows how to fucking fuck shit up in 1850 and come back at this... fucking drop of a...
Right, but who's to say that where is he from? Like, on the blog it said that he had come to like 2000 or something like that, and then he came back present day because he wanted to see the Y2K bug, so that's why he was kind of like in this time.
I remember that. I read that.
Completely ridiculous that he might, because he had also predicted that the United States would be in a civil war in 2015.
Yeah.
So it's not completely ridiculous that he would come to a certain period in time and be like, hey guys, I'm a time traveler. It's not his present. What our present is not his present.
No, I understand. His present is different than ours. But like you said, you would go back into the Stone Ages with a boombox. That's great. Like,
yeah, it would.
But like you do shit like that and, you know, blow people's minds for 2 seconds and then you bounce and they're like, what the fuck was that? I was high. And then that's over with. You're not answering a panel of questions to try to educate the people on something that you would never want to share.
I feel like I would want to share.
But
I'd be like, hey guys, I'm a time traveler because I just want you guys to know that that's possible. So reach for your dreams.
It seems like should that ever happen to someone, or if it already has, it seems just like counterintuitive and very risky to tell people, especially strangers, about it.
Why? Because you want to change the natural course of history? What if you are part of the natural course of history?
What if you want to be the only one you know about to be able to do that? Like,
that's pretty selfish.
Well, Jenna, there are a lot of idiots out there, and if you tell the internet how to time travel, then all shit could break loose, and like...
I think that's awesome, because then nobody knows where anybody is.
We're clearly continuing to disagree on this matter, which is fine. I like this.
Anyways.
It's good.
I would still take my boombox back and dance for some motherfucking dinosaurs.
I would take my hoverboard back and I would blow people's minds, but I wouldn't sit there and be like, ask me questions, I'll educate you.
I would. I'd be like, guys, I'm going to sit in the middle of town tomorrow at noon, all right? You guys ask me your questions.
I'm gone.
Barry, you bring your flute, okay? And Jacob, you bring a bunch of fucking wine. Let's all get our minds blown, yeah?
Barry, you bring your flute.
That's what I would do. It'd be awesome.
All right.
And then I'd be like, all right, friends, see you later. Remember, don't kill each other, okay? It's not cool.
All right, we have some more to get through. Are you done with all the theories?
Go ahead.
Okay. That was a good one. That was a really good starting one.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to save my best one for last. My first one. All right, so Coca-Cola. Coke, the company Coke. The theory is Coke had an original formula, if you will, of Coca-Cola. And up until 1985, it was huge. It was like the biggest pop you could buy. It was the best soda. Everyone loved it. And in 1985, they came out with new Coca-Cola, which was their new thing. It was just, I don't know, it was basically like when a new, Pepsi Zero, something comes out that's new, but it was just called the new Coca-Cola as far as I know. And it did not do well. People did not like it. They said, this is bad. Go back to what you did before. We want that. We will buy that.
Mm-hmm.
So they did. They went back to the original formula and then killed. So the theory is that they purposefully took the good stuff off the market and introduced an intentionally inferior formula for the new Coke. To be like, hey guys, here's this new product, knowing full well it's shit and people don't want it. But they did that because it would create even more demand for their old product to be brought back.
Are we talking about the Coke that had cocaine in it?
No, I don't think this is the same thing.
Because if you took the cocaine Coke off the market and then tried to feed people sugary soda, I'd be pretty pissed.
Well, I didn't. This was a short blog that I read on this. So the cocaine thing, it might be the old Coke had cocaine. You know what I'm saying? But the point
hey guys, here's your drugs without drugs. Hope you like it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was that. I think it was just, I read the blog and it was pretty, sort of extensive, and it said they just made an inferior formula. So they didn't say they left out the drugs. They just said they made a worse.
Well, what year was it again?
1985. 85.
Okay, so I believe that.
So 85,
maybe
they were
intentionally making a shitty product to get everybody really missing their old product.
Exactly, and then they brought it back and destroyed it. That's the theory. I don't think that's far off at all. That
seems like a lot of work to make a disgusting soda.
Well, Coke execs were asked about it. Obviously, they denied. But, I mean, think about it this way. You create a product that's really, really great, and then it's slowly okay, it's a great product, but now it's kind of just everyone knows it. How do you, without having the technology or knowledge or anything to make a better product, how do you make that more coveted? You take it away and you bring something else out, so they want it back. It seems like very plausible.
Yeah, but that also seems like a gigantic risk. What if they lose everyone that's ever liked Coke because now it tastes like shit when you have such a close competitor in Pepsi?
Maybe it is. Maybe it is a big risk. But maybe it takes knowing that your first product was that good. It's going to cause that much demand, not just frustration,
Cocaine, hell of a drug. You didn't watch Chappelle's show. I forgot about that.
No.
Never mind. Guys, cocaine. Just fucking. It's not my joke. Okay.
Joke thief.
So you don't remember Crystal Pepsi, then?
Is that a Chappelle joke?
No, Crystal Pepsi was Pepsi decided one time that they were going to make this clear, Sprite Pepsi.
I think I remember that. That was like Gatorade Ice.
Cola without any of the cola coloring.
Yeah.
And it just looked like Sprite.
And it tastes like cola.
Yeah, and people are like, this is fucking disgusting.
Jesus.
Fuck you. But now people buy it on eBay and shit because it's kind of like a novelty.
Yeah, I think Gatorade Ice did the same thing. They made a line of Gatorade where it was clear like water, but it was they had a whole line of flavors. And I think they brought it back. But when I was in school, because I was a kid during that, a lot of my classes didn't allow anything but water at your desk, so I would naturally just fill up a water bottle with Gatorade Ice, and I would just be so happy drinking my hot water.
I had a Spanish teacher that liked to do that with vodka, I think.
I was like well on my way to doing that. Like in high school, then it was vodka. No, it wasn't. I'm just kidding. I didn't drink vodka in class.
Do you really think that Coke would do that, though? That they would take it off the market?
If there was a company...
And put fucking shit out.
If there was a company with the balls enough to do that and come out on top, it would be Coke.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think so. I don't know. I think out of all the conspiracy theories I wrote down, that's probably the most likely to be true.
Really? Do you
Yes.
think, okay, so say...
Except for the Aladdin one, I think.
So say that Apple put out like an iPhone 6 and we all really like them, and then they put out a really shitty phone next.
Maybe this is the new Coke. I hate this phone.
You hate it?
I have a lot of problems with this phone.
I love mine.
I have so many problems with my phone.
Okay, but do you understand what I'm saying, though? Like, if they put out a shitty phone and you buy it, and would that make you want your old phone, or would it make you want a different phone?
Both. It's risky. That's what I'm saying. It's a ballsy move to do that.
I would be like, fuck you. I'm out of here. I'm getting a new phone.
If this is true, that happened. A lot of Coke fans switched to Pepsi or whatever competitor was the best. And they were like, you know what, fuck Coke. And then when Coke brought the old one back, they were like, yeah, let's try it. And then they're like, fuck it, I miss it. I'm back at Coke. Like, they don't even care. You can't afford to harbor hatred against a company when a product is so good that you can't refuse it. So for me, like, I mean, I don't hate this phone. I was being dramatic. I like this phone. It's an iPhone. I love iPhones. But if they did release a phone that was shit, I would undoubtedly move to Android and I would find something I liked and maybe fall in love. But then if they brought the next phone back and it was like the super Apple iPhone of all times, which was a mix of the old school and new technology, of course I would want it. It's like I can never, ever afford to harbor a resenting grudge, any sort of like, I'm not going to be a part of that anymore when a product is this good. When it's Coke and when it's the iPhone, you can only do that for so long. And then you want the best and you know they have the best. They've proven it. They showed you the shitty, and then they're like, you know what? Fuck it. Here's the best.
Like,
I'm not saying that Apple does that or anyone else does that. I'm saying theoretically.
If my only choice, though, was like shitty Coke, new revamped Coke, old Coke, like better Coke or whatever, or Pepsi, who's just fucking chilling, I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to stick with the company that's not freaking the fuck out over here.
Absolutely.
And making a bunch of weird shit.
Absolutely. But think about this.
If there was no more Coke on the planet, I'd be fine being like, hey, I'll just have a Pepsi.
People who drink soda religiously are so hell-bent on their soda. Soda for people is so important to what kind. So if I'm like a Coke guy through and through, I love Coca-Cola. It's my shit. And 1985 comes and they release new Coke. I am going to be a bitter human being for however many years or however many months it takes for them to bring back the old Coke. I'm never going to switch. I'm just going to be a bitter motherfucker. I'm going to be pissed off at everyone because Coke took away the good product. And then when they bring it back, I'm going to say, finally, I got my shit back. There are those people, there are those types of people out there who exist who are so stubborn and will never, ever, for their own, even to risk their own fucking happiness and sanity, switch over because they love a company so much that they hate it.
All I keep thinking about is that guy in that commercial for, I think it was Burger King, but like he went to Wendy's or some shit and wanted a Whopper. He's like, give me my Whopper. Like, this is not a Whopper. Do you know the commercial I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's hysterical because he's flipping out because it's not a Whopper. Yeah. That's all I keep thinking.
That's exactly what it is. It's like
that guy was fucking
crazy about their shit, man. People are, and you gotta respect them. Like they're willing to hate everyone and hate life because they physically can't abandon a brand, and they hate what their brand has become, but they're never gonna leave it. Not never, but takes a lot.
Well, I want to know what people think about that one because I'm not sure that I'm buying it.
I would say that was probably the most plausible one.
If you had said that it was Pepsi and they released Crystal Pepsi and people were pissed and wanted regular Pepsi back, I'd believe you. I'm not buying we changed our formula to make you guys want our old formula.
I am buying that. I'm buying the new formula. That's how much I'm buying that one.
Give me my Whopper. Okay, I'll go on to my next one. What?
No, this is fun. Go ahead.
Okay, so my next conspiracy theory was pretty interesting. We found it down a hole. But it's the idea that the entire International Space System and, like, the moon landing, like, all of that stuff was all staged, which is not new.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched a video on YouTube showing, quote, conclusive evidence that this is all staged underwater and that they're all in, like, underwater suits because you can hear them and it sounds like they're talking underwater and an air bubble releases from one of their suits.
Oh, my God.
And the video's, like, it was making me laugh really hard because you know how, like, if you want to show something in detail, you zoom in on it and you play it slower. But it just kept getting closer and slower and closer on one single air bubble in like this grainy picture. It was good stuff. But I mean, I could see that, honestly. I could see that being like, we want people to think that we're in space right now, but we're not.
Here's why I don't think that's true.
Go ahead.
When was the space landing? The first moon landing, sorry.
I don't know. That's not a good question for me. I got a D in history.
1970 something, right? I would say in the 70s.
You know what? I'll look it up.
Okay, look it up. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that they didn't have the technology to have an entire fucking film crew underwater.
You know,
to shoot
that's
something
actually
that extensive.
That's a good thought. 1969.
69. That was close.
That is a good thought, that they would not have the capability to shoot all of that underwater.
Yeah, because even now, they have the capability to shoot underwater, but if you're talking like a whole shoot with a fucking stage and a giant ship, there's logistics, there's people, there's crews, like, even that's hard right now. Think about it in 1969. Are you fucking kidding me? That's, like, I don't know how that's even possible.
Well, there was a lot of those conspiracy theories that they staged the moon landing did not include the underwater theory.
Okay, so you're saying
most of it has to do with the space station, the international
which
space
is
station.
currently a thing.
Yeah, that's all staged underwater, that nobody's really even up there. But if I could fight a conspiracy theory with the conspiracy theory for a second,
do it.
then how do you account for all the UFO sightings near the space station if they're underwater?
CGI, babe. They do great UFOs now.
Can you imagine being the guy that's sitting there, like you're an editor or some shit, and you specialized in that, you went to school for it, and you have somebody that works for the government being like, all right, listen, man, I know this is ridiculous, but all these motherfuckers are underwater right now. We need you to put something in there that looks like a really good UFO, but not too good, like kind of good.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine just sitting at your desk with your coffee being like, what the fuck am I doing right now?
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there is a guy who's the UFO animator.
It sounds like they're talking underwater because they're talking through radios in space.
Yeah. How do you even know what it sounds like when someone's talking underwater?
No, how do you know?
What point of reference is there?
Well, like radios. We know what it sounds like when people talk to each other underwater because they're talking through radios. So they're like, it sounds like they're underwater because they're talking through radios. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, whatever the water does to your voice, the radio's doing a similar thing. It's distorting the voice.
Right, well, they both require you wear a helmet.
Yeah.
So that's why it sounds the same.
You could be in fire. You could be in the air. It doesn't matter.
No, it sounds the same. But I really like, if you find that video, you just watch the zoom
of the
in
bubble
on this air bubble. Because it's playing it, like, so fucking slow. And you're like, I get it, man. There's a weird air bubble. We don't know what's happening. But come on, dude.
Oh, my God.
It's an interesting idea, though. I think it's creative. And you'd have to look for some more reasons as to why someone would want to make an entirely underwater staged international space station. You'd need to have a lot of countries on board.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of different people ready to shoot a big underwater production. But
that's a good one.
It's an interesting idea, right?
It is.
That they're not even in space, man. They're just underwater.
No. And speaking of space, Squarespace was nice enough to sponsor this podcast. You guys should go check them out at squarespace.com. They have so many templates. They work on mobile. It comes with a free online store. So if you're building a website, blog, online shop, it comes with that. It comes with mobile versions, so you don't have to zoom in a bunch when you're on your phone, which we all know how annoying that is.
24/7
customer support, chat. They hop on the chat with you literally 24/7. Any problem you're having, middle of the night, they will hop on and solve your problem.
Yeah.
Squarespace.com, check it out. And you can get a free trial, but you can also get 10% off your website. Product code JJ at checkout and 10% off. There you go. Let us know how you like it, because
Yeah.
Squarespace is the shit. They give us shirts.
Squarespace.
And
Yeah.
they do good stuff.
And you know who that's great for? People that are writing, like, I don't know, say you're a mom and you're writing a mom blog and you're up because your baby's sleeping for like an hour at a time and
Yeah.
you're up in the middle of the
Yeah.
night, man. I need support now.
And you know what? Like, when 5 years ago, when you were that person and you wanted to just do a blog for yourself because you had an interest,
Yeah.
you just had to accept that it was going to look shitty.
Right.
Because you didn't hire a
You
team of
don't
people
anymore.
to get it. You don't. It looks professional as fuck, and you don't need anyone to help you but their 24/7 customer support.
Thank you, Squarespace.
Thank you, Squarespace. All right, so moving on, right?
Yes.
My turn?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
All right, so Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
Popular movie.
That it is.
Okay, so the conspiracy is
Got a fucking smile on your face
that
right now.
Fight Club is a grown-up version of Calvin and Hobbes. Okay, like it's exactly the same. You read Calvin and Hobbes, right?
Yeah,
Okay, Calvin and Hobbes was the best
but they're just best friends.
the best cartoon ever. Well, do you know like the more of it?
Well, tell me more of it.
Okay, so Calvin and Hobbes, I literally read all the books. I love Calvin and Hobbes so much. It's my favorite cartoon of all time. What do you call a cartoon in a book? That's not a cartoon on TV. It's a cartoon, right? Just cartoon?
Comic.
Comic. Okay, comic. Sorry, this word was escaping me. Okay, so Calvin and Hobbes is said to be... Okay, so basically Calvin and Hobbes is about this kid named Calvin. He has his friend named Hobbes, and it's a tiger. But it's really just a stuffed animal. But when, people aren't really looking or not paying attention, it's Hobbes. It's a live tiger who's his best friend. And he goes on adventures with him. And they go on adventures. It's the adventures of Calvin and Hobbes. And it's one of the best.
Right? That's what I
comics.
just said. They're just best friends.
Yeah, but he's a stuffed animal.
Okay.
And he comes to life. Anyway, or in Calvin's mind, he comes to life. Anyway,
Best friends.
16-year spoiler alert for people who haven't seen Fight Club.
Turn it off now. Turn it off
Okay.
now.
So in Fight Club, Tyler Durden, who's played by Brad Pitt,
Mhm.
is, you find out, a figment of the narrator's imagination, or Edward Norton's character. They never give him a name. It's always the narrator. So you find out at the end that Tyler Durden is not a real person. He's part of Edward Norton's brain the whole time. He's a figment of his imagination. Okay? His name's Tyler. Sounds a lot like Tiger,
Here we go.
which is Hobbes in Calvin and Hobbes. So Tyler is the figment of narrator's imagination, and Tiger, Hobbes, is a figment of Calvin's imagination that he comes to life. Because the comics always end with him being a doll laying on the bed. It always ends with that. So let me keep going. All right.
Go ahead. I'm all in.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Calvin often refers to Hobbes as his best friend / sidekick. In the movie Fight Club, the narrator's best friend / sidekick is Tyler Durden. So they're going on these adventures. For them, it's going underneath the building and fighting each other at night. But he's with him, their sidekick, and they get in fights all the time because they're spending so much time together. Of course, they're going to get in fights. Calvin and Hobbes got in fights too about all sorts of stuff, about arguments with his parents and being a grown-up and being a kid. All right. This theory is backed by the scene where Tyler Durden is wearing a fur coat in Fight Club.
Oh.
Why would he be wearing a fur coat if he wasn't reincarnated from being a tiger in his past life, and that tiger being Hobbes in Calvin and Hobbes, the cartoon?
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
That one's definitely real.
Okay, so the theory is that they are Calvin and Hobbes, or the story is based off of Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, whatever came first, the chicken or the egg. So I don't know when Calvin and Hobbes was written, but
long before Fight Club came out.
So they made Fight Club as a derivative story from Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to say that they were Calvin and Hobbes.
They were Calvin and Hobbes. They took the story and derived from it. Yeah.
Story. Got it. Interesting. I mean, is that a conspiracy theory, though?
Oh, yeah. Why would he be wearing a fur coat? That's not a coincidence.
Oh,
Also, the whole thing that his name is Tyler and he's a tiger, and they're in their head the whole time. Like Hobbs, I had to learn this, and it was a shitty day for me when I learned this. But Hobbs isn't real. He's a stuffed dog, stuffed toy. He's a stuffed tiger that Calvin plays with. Calvin's crazy, man.
But then, by that logic, isn't every story of a child having a toy come to life Fight Club?
No. Where's the tiger? Like the fur cub.
Oh, Julien. Oh, wow.
She's got nothing to refute that with.
Wow, I got nothing, man. I got nothing.
Drop some mic.
I have nothing to say.
All right. Well, there we go. That's my second conspiracy theory.
Wow. I mean, I get it, okay? The stories, they are similar when you look at them from a distance. Mm. But then I'm just questioning, why isn't every story of a child that has a toy come to life and is their best friend, why aren't those Fight Club also?
Because it's different.
Why is it different?
Because not every kid...
Why isn't Fight Club fucking Winnie the Pooh?
Well, because they're not sidekicks. They're not like, they don't go fight each other and go on adventures together like sidekicks. Like Calvin and Hobbes, they're like two peas in a pod. They don't go anywhere without each other. Like all these other stories, say Toy Story. Andy goes to his friend's house and leaves his fucking toys at home. Mm. Like they are always together. And they are always communicating. Whether or not it's really happening in Calvin's head and Hobbes's fur-filled head, they're communicating the whole time they're together, always.
All right. It's okay.
And, another thing is, like, in Fight Club, shit will happen where narrator gets, like, physically pushed or physically affected by the presence of Tyler Durden. And, like, when they punch each other, like, maybe you have to assume he punched himself because he's a figment of his imagination, but in Calvin and Hobbes, Calvin will be on a sled 3 times his size and get pushed by Hobbes. How do you explain that?
I guess
they're crazy. Edward Norton was crazy in Fight Club. Calvin is crazy motherfucker. He's out of his mind.
I guess I don't know the answer to that.
There is no answer. That is the answer.
Well, did anybody ask the writer of Fight Club if that's where he drew his inspiration?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Somebody has to now.
Maybe I will. Send him an email.
All right. I mean,
send him a Snapchat.
You should send him a snapshoot story. My next one's not really a conspiracy theory either.
Okay.
But I mean,
I think I'm only gonna do 3.
Okay. Well, then should I pick a last one?
Yeah, because my other 2 are just not as good as my last one, and we're like cruising.
Okay, the one that I really want to talk about, even though it's not 100% a conspiracy theory, really, is called Oak Island.
Oak Island.
Yeah, did I talk about this in the last one? Because I'm so upset if I did.
No, I don't think you did.
So my first exposure to Oak Island was on the show Ancient Aliens, which you all know I'm very obsessed with and I love. It's just an island off of Nova Scotia, Canada. And there's like something in the ground. It started with like an 18-year-old. Here, I'll read you from the Wikipedia.
Go for it.
In 1795, 18-year-old Daniel McGinnis, after observing lights coming from the island, discovered a circular depression in a clearing on the southeastern side of the island. Adjacent to the clearing was a tree with a tackle block, blah, 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 blah. Basically, he gets a couple of his friends, and they start digging underneath this spot on this island in 1795.
Okay.
And they weren't able to get very far. About 8 years later, after the 1795 dig, according to the original articles, another company examined what was to become known as the Money Pit, which makes me laugh because that's what my brother used to call me when I was a kid.
He called you Money Pit?
Yeah, he used to go, Jenna's the money pit, because you throw money into it and you never get any out of it. I was like 7. I was like, Devin, but I'm hungry. So then people kept digging and digging and digging. They continued their excavation down to approximately 90 feet and found layers of logs, charcoal putty, and coconut fiber at 40, 50, and 60 feet. And this is still all, around that same time. Mm-hmm. Now, fast forward till whenever the fuck, okay? People keep trying to dig and dig and dig on this island called Oak Island, and they keep hitting metal, wood, putty, charcoal. They keep hitting layers and layers and layers of things, and at several different stages there seems to be like booby traps, like it'll start flooding. Do you know what I mean? I want to try and find you some of it, and people keep dying trying to, like, a handful of people have died, but like seriously, fast forward until further excavations were made in 1866, 1893, 1909, 1931, 1935, 1936, 1959, all the way up until now, 2011. People are still trying to dig this fucking thing. There were layers of, I think it said, like, actual oak, like oak underground. Yeah. Like, they chopped it up and they fucking put it down, like, to cover up the layer so that it said that there's treasure under there. They said that they found a rock that with a marking on it that they believed meant that there's treasure under it. And it's been privately funded in the past to dig in there. Wow. Somebody built a giant crane to bring it onto this island. They're trying to keep the treasure for themselves if they ever found it. Well, yeah. So, and what's been happening is that, you know, every once in a while, someone will decide that they really want to dig there. So they buy parts of the island, and they buy the rights to be able to dig on the land, and they will funnel infinite resources that they have or can fundraise around them to try and dig. Like, somebody informed the king at the time, I think it said King George VI, about developments on Oak Island. Like, people have been really interested on the treasure, and that they're guessing is underneath it, and people have put so much money into trying to dig it since 1795, and no one, even now with our current modern day technology, cannot. And I think one of the last ones, or what they covered in Ancient Aliens, that was blowing my fucking mind, was, so they got down to a certain point and they decided to pour red paint into the water because it was flooding, and it came out from 3 different points, like channels on the island. So you're like, all right, we want to see where the water's coming from. So they pour the red paint in there, and all of a sudden it's like basically surrounding them. So this, like, trap, or, like, you know, booby trap, is like rigged, is so sophisticated that somebody prior to 1795 had dug over 100 feet into this island to, like, plummet, basically. Yeah, ridiculously far into the ground to bury something, and it had set up 3 underground water tunnels to a specific point, more than 100 feet in the ground, so that if you dug that far, you would get trapped. No, so that if you dug that far, it would instantly come flooding from not 1, not 2, but 3 different points to make sure that you could never get to the bottom of it. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, people keep funneling money into it, and it keeps, like, flooding. Like, they keep discovering different ways that it's booby trapped, so you can never get to the bottom. Can you imagine? How many people have died? I think I looked at, there was 1 early, then there was like 4, and then there were 6 that had died from, like, an engine exploding. One of them fell into it. A bunch of different people, like, depending on what you read, there's some people that are like, oh, it's cursed or whatever. I just think that it's some of the hazards that come with trying to independently dig a massive hole on an island. But just imagine it's 1795 and you're like, yar, I'm a pirate, I should bury me treasure. You really have the capability of creating this? Like, no fucking way, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, one thing that I always get troubled by when it comes to conspiracy theories is things that were engineered or created by a man, or thought to be by man, and that's the only logical kind of solution at this point, that is outsmarting us today. That's something that just terrifies me. So something like that, where someone, I mean, that we, with all the shit we have today, all the technology, all the manpower, machines and everything, we cannot figure out that, we can't crack that code. Right. We can't find a way around that crazy, like, plumbing. They plumbed it. Right. Well, that was the craziest part, at least when I was watching on Ancient Aliens and when I was reading on this, was that if you find this hole and you just keep digging through layers of metal and wood and all different kinds of things, you're like, all right, well, eventually I'm going to get to the bottom. And then all of a sudden, you realize that you're dealing with a very sophisticated booby trap, because it's not just that they dug a hole and they put all of those, like, I think at one point he said there's 22 inches of metal. Like, it's ridiculous.
Okay, so obviously Ancient Aliens says that it was probably aliens who did it.
Well, that it was created by technology that was before its time, someone had helped them, or they had whatever. But just that in and of itself is more than impressive. But what's more impressive is that they had the capabilities of digging 3 underwater tunnels.
They literally were plumbing in 1795 better than we can even dig now.
More than 100 feet underground to one specific point to make this thing, to make this tunnel. And there are reports, although no one has been able to confirm it, that they had broken through to not the bottom, but a cave layer, and that it had collapsed a little while afterwards. So people still want to go down there and find it. But so what? You reach a fucking cave, then what? You reach another fucking country underneath it? You know what I mean?
Who the fuck knows?
Exactly.
That's crazy to me. I'm kind of stumped.
But how do you even dig? This is beyond, because I'm an idiot when it comes to this stuff. But how do you dig underwater tunnels to, they're booby traps, so if you dig, it'll flood. But it's not flooding while you're digging.
Yeah. So that's crazy.
My brain hurts if, however many people died now, how many people died trying to fucking make the thing?
I don't know how that's physically possible to dig underwater where there's water pressure coming in and not get flooded yourself. Either they had some insane amount of alien technology, or it was one of the most brilliant
booby traps,
floor plans of all time. He was an engineering god, and he went in there and was like, I got an idea, guys. Just listen to me. Let's get 100 people, get some metal. If we go this way, it won't flood.
Yeah, just checking. Everyone here is willing to die, right?
Yeah, exactly. But no, that's. I got nothing.
Yeah, for those of you that like Ancient Aliens, the show, or you have seen that episode, you know what I'm talking about, because they show you the visual of the island, what it looks like, the locations of the 3 channels that are flooding into this, and who's to say that once you reach those 3 underwater booby trap channels, that there aren't 17 more before you ever get to the bottom.
It wouldn't be the most surprising thing considering what they have discovered
already. Yeah. But people continue that lore of treasure, and treasure hunting is so
crazy,
deeply ingrained in people. Of they'll do anything to look for treasure. And since 1795, people have been trying to get to whatever is under there, and no one has been able to.
Mm-hmm. Wow!
But I really like it.
Can you show me that episode? I kind of want to watch it.
Absolutely. I will show you all of the episodes.
If we watch it before 11 p.m., I'll stay awake.
I know. I always joke that I'm so obsessed with Ancient Aliens. I love it.
Yeah.
And whenever I show it to someone else, they immediately fall asleep.
Yes, but to be fair, we watch it late at night, and I'm already tired. So if we watched it, maybe
it's not just you. It's everyone I've ever tried to
that's
rope
the thing.
into
I'm interested in that. It's just the slow shots and the steady voice. That'll put you to sleep when it's late.
What are you talking about? He's electric. His hair is up here. He's using his hands.
No, I'm not talking about him. I'm not talking about Giorgio Tsoukalos. I'm talking about the narrator who's
oh, the narrator gets me going.
Island.
What are you talking about? He gets me so hyped.
It's the voice is just okay, go to sleep.
No.
I'm gonna talk about aliens.
No.
Okay, but you're different. You're different than me, but I still think I do have interest and I want to watch it. So please let me watch it.
I will find that episode for you. Okay. And there's also another episode of underwater stuff that's really excellent, where they talk about underwater pyramids and shit, which is fucking bananas.
I would watch the shit out of that.
Yeah. But yeah.
Oak Island first.
Oak Island.
Oak Island.
I can't remember the name of the episode, but that's just one thing that they covered, where I'm just sitting there on the edge of my seat, everyone's asleep in my seat, everyone's asleep right now, and I'm fucking losing my shit over here, okay?
Yeah.
Did you want to do your last one?
Yeah. So.
Is this the Aladdin one?
This is the
Aladdin
Aladdin
I've been waiting all night.
This conspiracy theory is about Aladdin.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Okay. The conspiracy theory is that Aladdin is based in 10,300 AD which is in the future. Because it's 2015 right now. Okay? 10,300 AD. Okay? The reason for this is that in a part of the movie, the genie says to Aladdin, your clothes are so 3rd century. Do you remember that? He's insulting his clothes. Because he looks like he's from the 3rd century. Problem here is they also say in the movie that the genie has been in his lamp for 10,000 years. So the math here leads... You getting this?
I think so.
He would never have seen the 3rd century if he was in that lamp for 10,000 years.
But that's only assuming that the genie is man-made or that the lamp is man-made.
No, that's... What it's saying is, if he's being honest and saying that is so 3rd century, he would have had to be in the 3rd century to see it out of the bottle. But what is it? What do we call it? It's not a bottle. It's a lamp. He would have been okay. So the genie's in the 3rd century right now, right? He's in the 3rd century. He's looking around. He's like, "Oh, I'm gaining knowledge for what it looks like to dress in the 3rd century." Goes into the lamp 10,000 years later, which leads you to 10,300 AD. He makes that reference. You look like you're from the 3rd century with those clothes. So Aladdin is way in the future. It's a post-apocalyptic world where the magic is not magic that they're using. It's actually the marvels of years of futuristic science.
Oh, okay.
And that's Aladdin.
Okay.
Nothing about Aladdin is as you thought it was. It's all futuristic. It's completely post-apocalyptic. Zombies came and went. Everything's dead.
What's he? What's Raja?
He's probably some
robot?
Some monkey cyborg.
What's Raja then?
Whatever you want Raja to be. I don't know. What happened in 10,300 AD?
Okay, just like...
You could probably have 3D printing of human beings and whatever animal you want.
The theory completely rests on the idea that the genie and the lamp are both man-made. Who's to say that it wasn't ancient aliens that, had him in the fucking lamp, and then he came out around Aladdin's time that he had been in the lamp for 10,000 years?
No, the argument isn't saying he wasn't in the lamp. The argument is saying...
I know. It's about when he was in the lamp.
Yeah.
Right. But that argument hinges on the fact that the genie started being in the lamp in the 3rd century.
How else would he know what the 3rd century dressed like?
But what if he was in the lamp before then? Like 10,000 years before then, and came out for a second? I don't know.
But they say in the movie he's only been in the lamp for 10,000 years. So with that math, he had to be out of the lamp in the 3rd century.
He never came out.
He said, I've been in this lamp for 10,000 years. That's what he says.
All right. What if he's exaggerating? Because he is pretty dramatic. We'll give him that. And
okay,
also,
all right.
What
he
if...
could be exaggerating, but it's a weird number to pick. 10,000 years? You probably were in there for 10,000 years.
What if he just made a weird joke?
That's the same argument. You can't double up. Those are both the same argument. Him being dishonest.
Maybe he's just being dramatic on both parts.
All right, Pete.
Maybe he saw a picture while he was hanging out with Aladdin. He saw a picture of Aladdin's parents.
Yeah.
Grandparents.
Well, you guys have to let us know what you think, because I'm 100% sure that's true.
I just want to know what Raja is.
Flying carpet. That sounds post-apocalyptic to me. Like, some guy had to have dealt with zombies on a carpet and was like, you know what, I have an idea. I can escape all zombies if I can make this thing fly. Boom. Gave it to Aladdin. They made the movie. Sent it back in time with the guy who changed the Berenstain Bears full circle.
Oh my god. Oh, I just want to know who Raja is in the future, because Raja is so fucking miserable in the whole movie. Like, he just sits there and listens to fucking Jasmine complain all the time about her first world problems, and he's like, hello, excuse you,
First post-apocalyptic world problems.
I am a fucking tiger in captivity in your fucking house. When can I leave? Don't pet me and tell me about your bitch problems. That's why I want to know what Raja is.
Raja's probably a mix of years and years of science, maybe animal testing.
And Abu and the Jafar's fucking parrot or whatever.
Yeah,
you know what Aladdin's really about?
But
It's
see,
just
that's the thing.
animal enslavement.
There's talking animals in this movie. Like, they had to have advanced animals to the point where they can probably manufacture them and make them talk and make them be friendly and make them not eat you.
That bird was not friendly. He's devious.
He's shifty. I wouldn't say he's devious.
He's shady. He's throwing shade.
He's throwing shade.
Well, then how come Raja can't talk and tell Jasmine how much he's gonna jump off a bridge if she doesn't shut the fuck up?
Because he didn't get the voice.
Oh, so now in the future they can choose which
That's what I just said.
animals
You
get
manufacture them
voices.
how you want them. It's like a 3D printer, but animals. Duh.
So she wanted a prisoner, basically.
Yeah.
A beautiful
She's got a
tiger
weird
prisoner.
complex. Okay, she's got issues.
Yeah, she
clearly.
does. She doesn't know how to cut her fucking hair or get a hairbrush.
You look dusty. Your hair is uneven.
You're
not that cute. I'll say not you, the duck. Oh, man. So we can agree. It's post-apocalyptic.
You know, you might be right.
I think I'm right.
You might be right.
I think I'm right.
So does that mean that Jafar's mustache is coming back into style in the future?
Yeah, in 8,000 years approximately. 8,200 years-ish, give or take.
So there will be genies, and there will be arranged marriages.
There will only be genies when they arise out of their lamp, whether that is 10,000 years or a different amount of years. I think that depends on the genie you get.
Is someone gonna make the lamp to put the genie in? Like, do you have to capture it? Like, I just want to know the logistics of getting a genie in a bottle or a lamp.
It's a different argument, and that's one that I am not defending.
Which comes first, the genie or the lamp?
The lamp. You don't make a lamp with a genie already in it. You make the lamp, the genie comes to it.
No, but like, if the genie is 10,000 years old already, and he gets put into a lamp for 10,000 years, wouldn't the genie come first?
Well, the lamp came first. It's an old-ass fucking lamp. Duh.
It's not like...
Lamps are like the oldest thing ever.
Julien, it's not like
What is something that still exists that's like the oldest, it's fucking old as fuck?
aliens.
A lamp. Why do you have a lamp? It's so old.
Really? Not like a stick that was like sharpened at the end.
A lamp is older than any stick ever.
Yeah. I feel you. I know. Wow. I think that the genie comes first, and then someone builds a lamp, and someone casts a spell on the genie and the new lamp, and that's the genie's.
No, the genie doesn't have a spell cast on him. That's when he is born as a genie. When he
But do you get born
when
as
he
a genie?
appears, when he is spawned
What
as
is
a
the
genie.
genie?
I don't know, but when he is created as a genie, he knows that is his cross to bear. He does not get to ever. I forgot where I was
Have
going.
legs.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I am so.
Okay, how about this though? The Aladdin and the Little Mermaid are the same. The genie story parallels Ariel's story, except they live in parallel universes, and the genie never gets free and legs, except he does sort of. Except he doesn't get to be happy because he still has to hang out with Aladdin and Jasmine. But Ariel gets to be happy.
And Ariel's side job is a PA for the film shoots of the underwater space station movies that they're shooting.
No, that's Eric's job.
No, she's
Oh,
the PA.
I see. I
there's
see.
shoots
'Cause
of
she
the
can
underwater.
swim like
exactly.
a motherfucker.
So she brings coffee to the director underwater. Yeah, that's what she does.
And Sebastian and Flounder, her little fish slaves, come
They don't
too.
work. They're her pets.
No, they're not her pets. She bosses them around.
Okay.
She's a bitch to them. She makes them do shit for her.
Yeah. Oh, this podcast is so fun.
So fucky.
It's so fucky.
Alright.
Alright, good one?
Yeah, that was good.
Podcast. Oh my god, that's good.
I just like that your two main fucking theories are that Calvin and Hobbes and Fight Club are the same, and that Aladdin is a future apocalyptic fucking...
And? And? That shit matters.
Oh, Julien.
Thanks, Squarespace, for putting up with our bullshit. Again,
Thank you, Squarespace.
you guys are awesome. Check out squarespace.com. Product code JJ at checkout. 10% off your website. Let us know how you like it. Also, please, in the comments, respond to all the shit we
Berenstein Bears.
blew out of our mouth today.
Berenstein Bears, I want to know.
Seriously, why don't you just go and, I mean, if you want to respond to any of them, that's the one I want to hear. And also Oak Island, that's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week with another podcast. Hit us up in the comments. And we love you guys.
Love you, friends. Bye. Go conspiracy theories. Don't tickle. That's not a theory.
I have a conspiracy theory that you will forget to plug in your headphones, so I will have to charge them before next podcast.
True.
That is my conspiracy.
True. I always do.
Love you.
Love you, vlog.
Later, guys.